And we are live with Stephen Hargett. Stephen has an interesting background. So I think you've been in biz dev quite a while. Work at Apple retail right specialist. I can see there. I see Tesla. I see Kiva. I see that you started your first company in 2014, and then the WeWork, which is what we're gonna talk about today. In your current company, Workspace, right? So, Steve, if you could give us a nice little intro about yourself, tell us who you are and what you're up to nowadays.
Yeah, of course. No, I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for having me. I'm Stephen, co-founder of Workspace. Here at Workspace, we really believe in the power of space. We've automated the process to allow for people to find, book, and manage collaborative spaces. Our automated concierge takes over everything from operations, logistics, and community. Spent most of my career, over 15 years, in the collaborative space industry, and worked for some really great people. Like you said, started at Apple, then like started at Apple, went to Tesla, had some weird random pit stops, was a teacher for a bit, and then got my real touch on the early days of WeWork when I started in LA. At least we have 14 buildings, moved to 41 buildings. By the time I left, WeWork was like a $41 billion company, and then got to really understand the real power of space when I worked in the mayor's office with an accelerator managing their collaborative space as well. And that's kind of where the genesis of Workspace came. And I think as we've been building and scaling, just like understanding like how much the built environment plays such a huge role in how we show up and who we are. And at some point we just figure, I've at least learned that we are just walking antennas, picking up information as we go through, and just doing the best that we can with that information.
Love that. And yeah, you're a builder, you're a father, storyteller, you're passionate by sneakers and fonts, right? And I think we both get fired up by underdogs. So tell me, like, let's go deeper in your story and who you are as a person and why you decided to start these companies, right? You must be built different. You must be looking back at your peers when you were a student back then and be like, oh, yeah, I was different looking back with time. So what built you to who you are today?
That's It's funny. Like, I think that I'm still in the search of really understanding who I am today. But I will say that I when I was younger, I always had like a dream of like, or a vision, like, hey, I want to go do that. And then I'm like, it's gonna and that and I would just do it. And I think I really was driven by the fact that growing up, I wanted to be the best, wanted to do all the things that we wanted to do, but more so my drive was like really internal, like proving the point, right? Like, I am gonna do this. I am great and all those things. And it's funny. And then in my career, a lot of my career thus far has been a lot of like, being let go, being laid off, being fired. Like, I think I've been let go, laid off, or fired from every job level and every job.
That's pretty bad.
Oh yeah, yeah, oh no, for sure. I can tell you some stories. I've been on fund employment more times than I would like to imagine. However, in that process, the first company I ever started, I remember as soon as we started, we went to market. We had a great idea. We tried to fundraise. It failed immediately, and then that's when I realized that it was doing a lot of things out of spite. And really looking at the career and the drive that I have was really built off of like trying to seek validation from my peers and seek validation from others. And just recently, I'm getting into more of a comfortable space of having that drive be more about the internal why that I have when it comes to where I want the world to look like. So one person once told me once, like, hey, if you want to live your life based off of the world you want to see. So that should be your vision, right? Whatever you want to see the world to be, that's your life. And every single decision, everything that you do from that moment on is a step or a progress towards that life. And now with Workspace, that's the genesis of it all. But I think if I was to rewind all the way back, I've always led by that vision. It's like, hey, in high school, I wasn't highly recruited at all. Probably a negative star when it comes to college football. And I got to, play football at the University of Maryland because I was like, I want to do it. And like a lot of it growing up is like, I want to do this, and there's no reason for me not. There's nothing stopping me from doing it. And because I had this firm belief that not just for myself, I think everyone else in the world has the infinite possibility to do anything, right? I mean, we all have the ability to do anything that we want to do at any level, and the world is full of abundance, not scarcity. But I think what I found out, and the reason why I was moving so fast, younger, and even now, is that we only have a finite time to do it. And what I mean by that is that we're not gonna, ultimately live forever. So it's like if we have this infinite possibility every day to do anything, but a finite window to do it, my thought growing up was like, let me just try to do it all and see where the chips land. And in the midst of that, I fell in love with just the process of creating and driving and figuring it out and leading with curiosity and turning every leaf over to be like, oh, what's that? And like, and if I turn that leaf over, what does that springboard me to the other areas?
Right. And I think you and I, we both have this chip on our shoulder, but it's so hard to follow up on that vision and make it a reality, right? So what's your hacks to actually executing on that bold vision?
Um, I think the hack that I have found to really execute on the vision is just doing stuff. Like, and I think, and what I mean by doing stuff, I mean like doing anything. When I played college football, I had a defensive coordinator. He was like, if you get lost on the field, just hit something. I don't care what it is, because if I look at the film and rewind it, I know that you're lost because you're running the wrong play. However, you did hit something. So like you did something. It's just that you didn't get lost and just stood there, right? So I think when you have that chip on your shoulder, like how do you progress forward? It's like do something. For example, if you're like stuck and you're trying to raise capital and the VCs aren't responding, it's like, okay, well, how can I go get a new customer? Right? Or and like go send those emails, send those blind emails, go to the event. Like just as long as you have some level of action, you have a feeling of progression. And I think that that's like just putting more and more energy into the bank, and then you're building up more and more kinetic energy. It's more like those little cars that you have when a kid you pull all the way back. So that's really what you're doing. So like when you're stuck in those spaces, take your little car and pull it all the way back. So when you let it go, it can go taking off forward, because all of that built up energy has to go somewhere. So yeah, I like my practical hack is that I've sent out more random cold emails to people where I'm just like, if I'm stuck, I'm like, hey, random human being who works at this real estate brokerage, I'm Steven and I do this, and this, and this, and this. You want to hop on a call next week? Like, are they in my industry? Possibly. I don't know. However, what I have found is like by just getting that little spark of momentum, the little spark of progression has really helped me like when I'm in those stuck stages.
Right. And workspace, is it, I don't believe it's sassified yet, right? It's just like you pull in your information and then you have a database with all these informations and you help them sort of manually find the right workspace. Do you have plans of sassifying it and building a backend marketplace soon?
Yeah, so that's funny you say that. We just finished the front end. We're working on the back end, and what's great is that we want to. Our goal is by end of 2025 to have that process end to end fully automated. So when we say fully automated from the idea of trying to search for the space all the way through the booking, and then if you're a traditional commercial real estate, managing all of your operation and maintenance through that automated process. What we found and what we're building now is really building an engine that sits in between. We like to call it the unknown, which is the user. The user is just going to type random things in. With the known universe, the engine is going to then pressure test against that known universe and pull back the right recommendation. Um, my technology team has a cute way of saying it. It's like things are going to happen and there's going to be a smart action, and then the smart action then sends back the result. But I like to say pressure test.
Right, and nowadays you can build these apps fairly easily with vibe coding apps like Lovable or Cursor would be the one that I would use, right? Because Lovable won't give you a full prototype, a working one that is. Let me ask you that about your time at WeWork, right? Like you saw Adam Newman in his prime, and we talked about Adam pre-podcast. I personally love Adam and what he did, and of course he's a fanatic for a couple of things, just like Elon is, although I haven't forgiven Elon yet.
Yeah.
But like if you're performing at a very high level, you will have your quirks, right? And you will ruffle some feathers. So, how's been your time working there, and what lessons did you get from WeWork and Adam?
It was great. I really enjoyed. I know that some WeWork employees might cringe at this, but I had a really great time there. It was the first job that I had where I felt human and felt like fully engaged, like with myself and the work that I was doing. The things that I learned was like really fall in love with the mission, right? Of like building physical space where people feel that they can belong and build community. Like that's I can do that, right? If I look at all the things in the world, I can do that. And then kind of follow along with that vision of having the built environment be the driver of human existence. Can't go wrong with that either. So I think when working at We were during the time of Adam Newman, Miguel McKelvey, just understanding like they were just very, very human. And I think like that's the one thing that like, despite all the things that happened for me, that was the one thing that like kept me really engaged. I remember one time during one of our events, two things stood out during our about Adam, particularly during our all hands in New York. One was this woman came up there for the Creator Awards and she pitched. I remember she pitched her meal business, and she was saying what she would do with the money, and then she didn't need all the money, but she just wanted this little small portion to keep her business going because she wanted to take care of her kids. And he goes, well, how much would it cost for you to, feed the entire like New York market? And she's like, I just want one building. And he goes, but how much would it cost to do the entire New York portfolio? She's like, I don't know. And he goes, and he turns to her on the sideline on the side and says, can you send her a PO so we can buy all of her meals to fund to feed our entire New York portfolio of buildings? Like, I've never seen a CEO ever turn and go, let's just buy them all. She can't number, but let's just buy it. And that really inspired me because I'm like, I want to be that kind of person where it's like, I see this woman, she's a great human being. She also wants to do is feed her family. And I have the ability with a snap of my finger to change her life. Another one that came to mind was this woman, she was on the cleaning staff, and there was like a Adam Newman Ask Me Anything. Now all the employees are there, and like people are standing up, asking for different things. And she stands up and she goes, I love my job. I really like what I do. She said, I know that I'm just, on the cleaning staff, but I really like my job. And then he goes, okay. And she goes, but like, I have a question. How can a person on the cleaning staff become a front desk associate? And he goes, that's it. And she's like, he said, I thought you were going to get up here and say you wanted to go from a cleaning staff to a community manager. You just want to go from cleaning staff to front desk? And she goes, yeah, I just really like what I do. And he turns to the VP of HR and goes, can we just make her a front desk associate right now? And then she goes, well, she's like, well, there's a process. He said, no. We're going to just make you a front desk associate. And he paired them up and he walked off and she became a front desk associate right there on the spot. So like to have people and I don't think that he did it for show. When I was at those things, like I think like those are genuine human opportunities where he's like, yeah, I want to help you, or co-founder Miguel McKelvey coming out of his own way to interact with, community manager, community leads at different places and sitting down, having 15, 20-minute, 30-minute conversations, or both of them being super responsive on Slack. Like these are billion-dollar folks in an organization and they are just very, very human.
Right. Yeah, I think there's a part flex, but there's also a part efficiency, right? And if that lady's asking that question, if she has the guts, right? And if that's her dream, then and if for Adam, yeah, it's a couple of thousands of more, right? And or of potential loss. I think Adam was like swimming in money as well, right? Like which is why he got like that bad press as well, especially when Massa invested like more than $1 billion
Yeah.
in the company, right? Do you still think that there's a big opportunity in work real estate, or do most folks prefer to work from their houses? Because I believe in LA or NYC it might be different, right? Like you may not be able to afford like an office in your actual house or something, or maybe it is the mindset of going to work out there outside of your actual home, and then at home it's actually relaxation time. So do you still believe that there's a commercial real estate opportunity out there?
Yeah, I do. I firmly believe that. I think that what I think the next genesis or the nexus of what we're going to see is less of the battle of return to office, remote work, or hybrid. I think that there's going to be a world where we give agency to the person to pick the place where they work best and at the time that they work best. And a lot of that's going to be the development or the continuous development of the third space, right? Where it's not work and it's not your home, but it's another space where you're able to, I like to say, demask, not perform, be focused, hyper focused. When I worked in the mayor's office, one element that we did in our space to allow for that third space to really flourish is looking at work in two different capacities. You have your community work, which is what we're doing now. We're doing it now, engaging, sharing thoughts, sharing experiences, sharing energy. Then you have your focus work, which is the back and forth emails, the spreadsheets, and whatnot. And each of those types of work does really well in different types of spaces. And my dream and ask and mission and drive is that can we give people the agency to decide which area of the work they want to leverage physical space for, which will then in turn drive commercial flexible spaces where it's like, hey, I'm a community person, this third space arose. I need to be in this type of environment, X, Y, and Z, and then kind of build that out towards that. So I think if once we move towards having the agency on the end user, I feel like the spaces like a WeWork or traditional commercial real estate will thrive.
Well, Stephen, thanks for being on today. Where can people find out more about you?
Oh yeah, if you can Instagram at fancy.steven and on LinkedIn, that's where a lot of I've officially turned LinkedIn to my own personal journal. So if you want to see what's going on in my life, tune in on LinkedIn.